Hi there, my name is Alana McKinnon. I'm a functional health practitioner and I don't hop into your inbox that often, so I wanted to say hi. And I wanted to come on today to let you know there is an anxiety summit coming up, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about it. Right now, the time we are in a kind of the tail end, hopefully, of a global crisis. Hopefully we're at the tail end here. And, everything that's been going on politically all over the globe, people have been experiencing a lot of loss. I would bet, if we looked into it, that levels of anxiety are at an all-time high. I know a lot of my clients are really struggling with anxiety. Our brain does not like to be in a place of uncertainty. And with everything that's been going on lately, we are absolutely in a deep place of uncertainty. So I thought I would share as well. I suffered with very severe anxiety over the years. So I had two different times where I was living in mold. And during those times, my brain essentially went through a chemical brain injury. My brain and nervous system kind of shift into this hyper vigilant state. And, my eyesight was heightened in the sense that lights were too bright, sunshine was very agitating. My ears hearing sounds were extremely loud, also extremely agitating. And smells, my sense of smell got so heightened that I could smell everything. So kind of my experience of my day was through smelling everything. I could smell people's deodorant and fabric softener and shampoo. And it wasn't just, kind of a whiff that you get walking by. It was an overwhelming feeling of kind of toxicity, essentially, that like the smell was too much. It was very, very intense. And it was also triggering a physiological response where it was almost like if you smell cleaner and you start getting a headache and feeling sick, it was like that, but, kind of other benign smells. So during this time, my anxiety was through the roof. My brain and my body had essentially determined that I was not in a safe place, and that benign social situations, benign people I loved, were no longer safe. So the level of anxiety had gotten very unbearable. And some of you know this about me, but I'm also an empath. So that means I like feel people and feel the world. I feel things and I know things. And, more than having empathy for somebody. So it's kind of something that I could not turn off. I was kind of a sponge where I was picking up pain and sadness and fear and anxiety. So I was literally living in my own anxiety and other people's anxiety. And oftentimes I couldn't distinguish the two. So having been in this chemical brain injury, I thoroughly recognize that there are very real physical triggers to anxiety, such as changes in your microbiome or infectious disease like Lyme and co-infections like Bartonella. Chemicals, toxins in our environment can trigger anxiety. And then life experiences can trigger anxiety because life experiences that cause a response of trauma will change the way our nervous system and our brain are functioning. So it can be anything from childhood neglect and abuse to, molestation and, things like a car accident or, more physical things like that. So part of this summit is to recognize all of the ways that toxins, medications, and infections can actually change the way your nervous system is functioning. And it can put you essentially in what we call a limbic system trauma loop, where your ancient reptilian brain, its job is to determine whether you're safe in any given moment. And your brain can literally get kind of switched into a state where seemingly benign instances like a person or a noise can trigger your brain to think I'm not safe. And so you're going to have all of the stress response that goes along with that. You're going to have elevated cortisol or adrenaline. Your body's literally gearing up for fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And there's no threat. There's no real threat to get away from. So there's no end to the threat. So this can be a very scary, very uncomfortable place to be in. So this Anxiety Summit starts November 2nd. And I wanted to give you 6 people to tune into in case you look at all the options and you feel overwhelmed and you think, I just don't have time for this. This was very hard to pull out these 6 people because all of the talks are going to be amazing. But I wanted to kind of guide you towards a couple talks to listen to so you can tune in. The first is Ari Witten. And Ari Witten is doing a talk on red light therapy, anxiety, toxins, and benzodiazepines. And for those of you who are not familiar, benzodiazepines are medications like lorazepam, Xanax, Valium, Klonopin, Ativan. These are a class of drugs that usually they're working on your GABA receptors. And I would say, probably 90% of my clients come to me with anxiety. And of those 90%, I would say about 30% are on some sort of a benzodiazepine. And oftentimes what's happened is you've been on a benzodiazepine for a long time, and at some point you feel like it's not helping anymore. Anxiety is still there, you're still suffering. And most of my clients are starting to wonder what side effects the benzodiazepine is causing. And they start to feel worse on the benzodiazepine. And now the problem here is that when you try to go off a benzodiazepine, it is miserable. It is very challenging, and the withdrawal symptoms are almost worse than the side effects. And so you feel like you're stuck. And a lot of doctors don't know how to take you off. So this Anxiety Summit is going to talk quite a bit about benzodiazepines. And at times we need them. At times anxiety has become so severe, so debilitating that you need something, like you need help right now. And so they have their place. And the unfortunate thing is that most people are not told they should be used short term, and you need to get off early. And if you don't, then it is very hard to get off. The next person I'd like to alert you to, her name is Alyssa Song. She's doing a talk on pandas and pans. And if you've never heard of these are kind of rapid onset childhood illnesses. Typically kids, their personality will change dramatically overnight. They might have tics, they might feel sick, they might have challenges with their autonomic nervous system, where if you stand up, you pass out, you cannot control your heart rate, your breathing. It's very scary. And some adults also go through these. And she's talking about how your brain is on fire. So the pandas and pans are triggered by infections, and it triggers this inflammation and this fire in your brain. So even as an adult, I would say that talk is going to be highly useful and interesting. The next person is Dr. Kara Fitzgerald. She's talking about the dance of methylation. beyond methylated folate and B12. So many of us, if you worked with me before, we've talked about methylation. And I love to follow Dr. Kara Fitzgerald because she really takes a holistic approach to methylation. And she understands the complexities and how you can over-methylate your body. And that is actually very dangerous. And you can kind of push the needle towards cancer if you do that. So I like to follow her. She's great. Dr. Datis Karazian, he's someone I've had the privilege of listening to in person multiple times, and he is absolutely brilliant. His mind, he has a photographic memory, and so he can read research in a way I've never seen before, and he can put the pieces together. He's phenomenal. So he's talking about the loss of chemical tolerance and glutathione recycling. And when I had that mold exposure, essentially what was happening with me with the smells was a loss of chemical tolerance. My toxicity bucket was full and I could not take one more smell of anything. So mold does act as a chemical toxin. It is a biotoxin in your body. It may be the most potent toxin that we can be exposed to. And my body was completely overloaded. So Catherine Pittman is another person to watch out for. She's talking specifically about benzodiazepines, the short-term benefits and the long-term harm. And then the last person is Kiran Krishnan, and many of you have used the Microbiome Labs products. Many of you have used Megaspore, Restore Flora, and HU58. And I love his company. He has so much research behind his products. They're very effective. And he's a microbiome expert, and he is talking about acetaminophen, which is Tylenol, spore-based probiotics, which are like Megaspore, and your liver and the relationship to anxiety with detox. So I hope that gives you some guidance and something to look forward to. I hope you enjoy the summit. And as always, these summits are free to listen to. Usually the talks are available for 24 hours. And then after the watch window, usually there's an encore day where you can listen to everything. So you can pick, if there's something you missed, you can pick and choose. And then they're always available to purchase. So if this is something that you feel like, you know what, I want to listen to every talk and I don't have the time right now, you can purchase these and you can listen at your leisure. And usually these summits are so phenomenal. The people that are brought together have such expertise in their area. It's very valuable. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you're doing well, taking care of yourself and giving yourself some self-care, especially if you're dealing with anxiety. And I look forward to talking with you soon.